Hello BookTube, Sarah here and welcome to my channel. Today I'm coming to you with my weekly reads for April the 13th through the 19th. So in my weekly reads videos every week I talk about all the books that I finished this week, and there were 7 of them this week. I share with you guys the books that I am currently reading / hope to finish this week, in the coming week I should say. I have a little book haul to share with you guys, and I'm going to show you my crafting and of course some real life stuff. So as usual, these videos can be a little bit longer, so in the description box below I do timestamp all the parts of the video. So each individual book that I talk about that I finish will be timestamped below, along with, like, you know, my currently reading and my crafting. So if you want to jump to a certain part or skip a certain part, please do feel free to do so. I don't think I remembered to do this last week, but I will remember to do so this week. I will also list every book that I talk about in the description box below as well. So if you didn't quite catch the name of a certain book or something like that, feel free to have a peek down below and see what book it was that I was talking about. So the lighting's a little bit weird right now. It is actually, well, I do film these videos on Friday, you know, behind the scenes information. I film these videos on Friday, and usually I do it when I get home from work. But today is actually Good Friday, and in Canada it's a statutory holiday, so I was off work today, which is a big bonus. A long weekend is always appreciated, and so I decided to film this early. I mean, you know, why wait until I normally would? So the window's open behind me because it's not really a sunny day outside. It's kind of, it's been overcast. It's been raining for most of the day. It's supposed to rain for most of the weekend, unfortunately. But I do also have like my light, like my lamp up. So that's why the light is a little off. But you know what? I have a feeling within the next little while it's going to start to get dark out. So I thought the light is a good idea. So that's what it is what it is. So anyway, let's get into all the books that I read this week, you guys. So the first book that I finished this week was Mallory and the Mystery Diary by Ann M. Martin. This is a middle grade fiction novel. It is book number 29 in the Babysitters Club series. Originally published in 1989, this one has an average rating of 3.63 stars on Goodreads. I gave it 3 stars. So, as I've mentioned before, the Babysitters Club is a series that I read and devoured as a kid. I have read every single book in this series, in the Offshot series, in the Mystery series. I've read all the super specials, you know, all the super mysteries. I've read everything for the Babysitters Club. So these are all rereads for me. And some of them I reread more than others. Like, for example, like the first 4 books in the series, I probably, no exaggeration, have reread those about 20 times in my lifetime. You know, I could narrate the first book. You know, if you give me the first line, I could probably continue that first page just off the top of my head. But some of the other books, like this one, for example, is one that I only read the one time. And my library actually has every single book on Libby, like on the Overdrive Libby app. So I can digitally borrow them all at some point, and as I'm reading through the series. So that's great that, you know, my library has, and I can access them, and I'm reading through them in publication order. So you're going to notice as I go through these week to week that I will jump into a super special, or eventually in the next, you know, little while I'm going to start jumping into the mysteries. So I did find a list online. Someone had compiled a list, and I have it saved, of the order of the Babysitters Club series, including all the special whatever, the special books, the mysteries, the super specials, all in chronological order. So that's the order that I'm reading them in. But anyway, let's talk about this book. So as I said, this one was a reread for me. Not one of my favorites. I only ever read it the one time. I've said it before, Mallory and Jesse, who are the junior officers in the Babysitters Club, were never my favorite characters, mainly because even at the time I was reading them, I found them to be, you know, so much younger, and I wanted to read about girls who are more my own age, like 12 or 13 years old. And, you know, even as I got older, like, I will be honest, I was reading these up until I was in my teens, like through high school, pretty much the run of the series. It started in, I think, 86, and I think it finished somewhere around like 99 or 2000 or something like that. I can't remember right off the top of my head. But anyway, so this one, in this book, in the previous book, Stacy has moved back to Stony Brook. And in this book, Mallory and Claudia are helping Stacy and her mom kind of do some unpacking, and they're putting some stuff in the attic, and they find this old trunk. And so it's Stacy's like new old house, like her, you know, and so, you know, they're like, what are you going to do with this trunk? And Stacy and her mom are like, well, you guys can have it. I don't really want it. So Mallory takes it and they end up opening it up, and there's a mystery diary in there. And it was written by a young girl, like 12 years old, who lived in that house in the 1800s. And, you know, there's kind of a mystery involving, you know, this diary and some of the things she's written in the diary. It really doesn't get mystery-like. Like, it's not like a Nancy Drew kind of an idea where there's a mystery to solve. There is a mystery to solve, but it's actually not the majority of the book. It's like, you know, it is the A plot of the book, but there's other things going on that are like the B plot and stuff like that. So, you know, it's not really mystery. I mean, even when you get into the mystery series that the babysitters do, you know, later on, that I'll get to down the road, those are actually, they're more solving a mystery, whereas they're just trying to figure out what's going on kind of an idea. The one thing that bothered me about this book is that, as I mentioned, Mallory is one of the junior officers. She's only 11 years old. In this book, she is tutoring an 8-year-old little boy on reading. The mother hires her to do this. I'm sorry, you know, like, I guess this is me as an adult reading them. You know, they are meant for children. It is a middle grade book, but still, I'm just saying, as an adult, you know, if I was a parent of an 8-year-old, I wouldn't be trusting someone only 3 years older than him, like an 11-year-old, to be teaching him how to read. I would, if it's like, it's the point where, like, his teacher is like, we might have to keep him back, or, you know, put him in a remedial type program. And, you know, if that were my child, I'd be like, okay, well, maybe we need to get you a legitimate tutor or something like that. You know what I mean? Or, you know, have the parents read with him more or something like that. But no, they essentially hire the Babysitters Club to do so, and Mallory's the one who volunteers. So, I don't know. You know, I just, if the problem is that, I mean, if it was just a little bit of extra help, that's a totally different situation. But he's not reading at his level, like, at all. Like, he's one of the lowest in the class. So there's a problem there, you know? But anyway, that's me as an adult speaking about it. But, you know, I mean, again, another one in the series, these are so easy to read. They're like potato chip reading. Like, you can just, I could fly through one of these in under an hour, no problem. But, you know, I do read them, you know, a couple chapters a night as I'm eating my dinner. It's that kind of really, I read them when I get home when I'm eating, because, you know, you come home from work and your mind is just so like, oh my God, work. And it's really a nice palate cleanser to kind of relax and then get on to the rest of your evening, you know, of more relaxation. Do you know what I mean? So yeah, so I am enjoying them. And, you know, again, I'm going to hit on some of them that are not necessarily my favorites, but, you know, that's what happens when you read a series. So the next book, my tablet turned off as I was chatting there. The next book that I finished was A Winter's Rose by Erica Spindler. This is a contemporary romance novel. Harlequin Special Edition number 817. Published originally in 1993. This was one of my 40 Years of Harlequin project books. 3.59 stars on Goodreads. I gave it 4 stars. I really enjoyed this one. I liked the story quite a bit. And thank you to one of my viewers. I'm sorry, I can't remember your name. Is it Veronica? She mentioned that this author actually writes suspense novels, like mystery, romantic suspense maybe. I now want to look those up because this was really well written and I really enjoyed it. So it's the story of a woman by the name of Bentley. And she has been a pampered princess, born with a silver spoon in her mouth type character her entire life. Her parents always took care of her. They had ridiculous amounts of money, Texas oil kind of an idea. And, you know, she was pampered and taken care of, and she went to the best schools, and she, you know, lived in a townhouse that her parents bought her. She drove a car that her parents bought her. She uses a gold card that goes to her father's account. And then she gets married, and now she's being pampered and taken care of by her very wealthy husband. Well, there are some issues with her marriage, and they end up divorcing. And now she's decided she wants to make it on her own, and she wants to kind of be her own person. And so, you know, she gets this job as a nanny. I mean, there's a bunch of things that kind of go on around that, but the basic premise is that she gets this job, and she's now kind of babysitting or looking after this 13-year-old girl, because her father works longer hours and oftentimes he has to travel for business, and he doesn't want to leave her alone. So essentially she's not so much of a nanny as a friend, like just someone to make sure, you know, she doesn't burn down the house kind of an idea. And I really, really like the character of Bentley. She reminded me so much of Rachel from the first season of Friends, and I think I mentioned this last week in my video. But, you know, like, there's that great scene in, like, the second or third episode of Friends where Rachel's sitting there cutting up her credit cards, And she's like, I just want to keep one. And they're like, well, if you want to be independent, you have to get rid of all of them. And that's exactly what Bentley reminded me of. And I really, really liked her. So, of course, the romance in this is that she falls for the father of this young girl. His name is Jackson. And, you know, their romance is very sweet and whatever. But, yeah, I think it was Bentley's character that really stood out to me in this book. And I really, really enjoyed it. The next book that I finished was a NetGalley read. And this was Wonderland by Jennifer Cody Epstein. This is a historical fiction novel. It is going to be published April 23rd, so it'll be published this coming week. So if this is something that's going to interest you, it's coming out this week, so definitely go and check that out. Average rating of 4.07 stars on Goodreads. I give it 4 stars. This was really, really good. I don't want to give too much of the plot of this book away because I went into this one without reading anything about it. I mean, I knew it was a historical fiction novel set during World War II, and I knew it was about 2 good friends, but that's all I knew. And I started reading this one, and oh my gosh. So pretty much the very basic plot that I'm going to give you. This is one of those stories that goes back and forth in time, which I love. That's like catnip to me when books like go across time. So it follows our 2 main characters, 2 girls who start off as young girls at the beginning of the story. And then as the story flashes forward, the furthest forward it goes is 1989. So it's still, if you want to call 89 historical, it still doesn't come anywhere into modern day, essentially. And it's about one of those girls' daughters. So the story starts with one of those, when they were girls in the 30s. In 1989, she's now passed away. And her daughter, who hasn't spoken to her mother in a number of years, receives this box of all these correspondence between her mother and her friend. And the story kind of kicks off from there. So the more modern part of the story that takes place in the 80s goes over the course of a single day. Whereas the backstory traces years and years and years. And it's Germany in World War II. And one of the girls, no, you know what? I'm not even going to say any more than that because I kind of had an inkling going into it. But when I got to that part in the story, I was like, okay, you know, now I see some more conflict. So that's all I want to tell you guys. I know I'm being vague and I'm sorry, but I know a lot of people like to go into books not knowing a lot about them. And I think this is one that will benefit from it because it was so, so good. If you enjoy World War II historical fiction, definitely give this book a read. I mean, the author did her homework. It was so, so good. So the next book that I finished was Tyler by Linda Lael Miller. This is another contemporary romance novel. Book number 3 in the Montana Creed series. This one was narrated on audio by Jack Garrett. I do like his narration with these books. This one was originally published in 2009. Average rating of 4.15 stars on Goodreads. I gave it 3.5 stars. This one was enjoyable. I didn't absolutely love it, but it was highly enjoyable. So this is the story of course, Tyler, as you know, the title suggests, and Lily. And Lily used to spend her summers in the small town in Montana where this story takes place. And she was there with her father. Her parents divorced and her mother moved away, but she would spend her summers with her dad, who is a veterinarian. At the beginning of the book, or actually at the end of the last book, you don't necessarily need to read these in order. You can jump around. It's not that big a deal. Her father suffers a massive heart attack, and she ends up coming back from Chicago to look after him, and she brings her young daughter with her. Her husband, she's a widow. Her husband had died in a plane accident. And anyway, so she, of course, when they were young, had a relationship with Tyler. No sort of physical relationship, but, you know, they were dating, but nothing went beyond, do you know what I mean? And then they ended up splitting up because she found out that, they were seeing each other, like going to the movies or going to the malt shop or whatever the case may be. The disco, if you will. He was sleeping with a much older waitress. So anyway, now we're into present day and she's back. And of course, he's there. You know, he has just come back to town as well. He's, you know, kind of made a name for himself. He's done a few movies. He's done some modeling. He was in the rodeo, you know, the whole 9 yards. And it's the relationship of the two of them kind of coming back together. So it's a second chance romance of sorts. There's a lot going on with her husband's death, and some mystery surrounding his death. And there's a lot going on with this waitress that he was seeing about 13 years ago, and a surprise that he didn't know about, essentially. So yeah, so that's how this story kind of plays out. an atypical romance, but it's a cowboy romance, and I do love them. And this one was a lot of fun, and I recommend really anything by Linda Lael Miller. So the next book that I finished was Let It Shine by Alyssa Cole. This is a historical romance novel that takes place in the late 1950s, early 1960s, during the Civil Rights Movement. It is narrated on audio. Now, this was only a novella. It was very short. I think if you read it as an ebook, it's only like 130 pages. On audio, it was less than 4 hours long. Narrated by Karen Chilton. This was published in 2016. And it has an average rating of 4.13 stars on Goodreads. I gave it 3.5 stars. And I'll explain why I did that in just a minute. So this one I actually read for the Pass the Parcel challenge that I am participating in. And in this challenge, for this week, like it came out last Friday, that you had to read a book that was from a certain list. Like a list of romance novels where your two main characters are of different races. And in this book, she is black and he is white. He's actually white Jewish. And again, taking place during, the Civil Rights Movement in the 60s, 50s and 60s. So, there's a lot kind of going on with this book. And I picked this one because it was short, because it's getting towards the end of the month. I still have a lot of books I want to finish that are on my TBR, so I found this one that was short, and I thought, perfect. And it's also part of the Audible romance package, so that's fantastic. Karen Chilton did a great job narrating this one. I just love her narration. So, this is the story of Sophie and Ivan, excuse me. And they actually knew each other when they were children. He is from a very well-to-do Jewish family, and she is from a middle-class African-American family. And her mother used to actually work for his family when she was quite young. And then when she was about 12, I think, her mother died of an aneurysm. And it was very shocking, and things like that. And she's kind of been raised by her father. And her father's been very strict, very straight-laced, he wants a proper, good church girl. And, in the book it says, like, every year for Christmas, he used to get her, like, sewing patterns so she could make her own clothes, which is fine. And then books on proper etiquette. That was always her Christmas gift every year. And so she decides that she now wants to kind of do something about this whole civil rights movement. And she wants to participate in nonviolent protest. And she joins a group to do so. And during the course of this, she meets Ivan, who has also joined the same group. And the two of them realize that they had known each other as children, that, they had been playmates when her mother was working for his family. And, so they kind of have a relationship. My issue with this book, and the reason I gave it 3.5 stars, is because it was too short. If Alyssa Cole had written this as a full-length novel, like, to really get more into their story, this could have very easily been a 4.5 star novel for me, because it was so good, and there was so much that she could have explored in this book, and I'm kind of disappointed that it was as short as it was, because you get the main story. And, again, it just seems like there was so much that she could have embellished upon and gotten more into. It just feels like, their relationship was very, very quick, which you guys might know I am not a huge fan of insta-love or insta-lust. Insta-lust is something different, but insta-love I kind of have an issue with. Now, granted, they knew each other as children, but I've also mentioned this before, too. You knowing somebody when you're 12 years old to meeting someone when you're in your 20s is two completely different things. This person was your playmate. You guys, you used to kick a ball around outside. You weren't looking at each other romantically at that time. And then to suddenly meet back up, and it's not something that it's not, I hate using the term a trope, or something that's very common in romance novels. It's not something that I've ever really bought, essentially. But then you finish the story, and it still had, I think, a good 45 minutes on the audiobook. And I'm like, well, what's up with this? It's less than a 4-hour-long audiobook. So a quarter of it was devoted to the epilogue, where they, follow Sophie and Ivan through these different stages, when they get their first apartment together, and then it goes 5 years in the future to the 70s. Do you know what I mean? It could have so been expanded upon, and I would have loved this to have been a full-length novel, because it's a great story. It's such an interesting story, that it's not something you see every day with an African-American woman and a Jewish man, It just had so much potential. And the fact it was a short story really disappointed me. So that's why it only got 3.5 stars. And I hope that makes sense why I did that. But yeah, again, as part of the Audible Romance package, if you get a chance, go and check it out and listen to it. Or if you can pick it up for your Kindle or your e-reader or whatever, I highly recommend it. I mean, Alyssa Cole is a fabulous writer, and I just love her work. And this one did not disappoint, except for the length of it. The next book that I finished, I didn't love so much, was Red on Arrival by Nora Page. This is another one I read for NetGalley. This is a cozy mystery novel. It is book number 2 in the Bookmobile Mystery Series. It is being published on May 7th of this year, so it comes out in a few weeks. Average rating of 3.93 stars on Goodreads. I only gave it 3 stars. The premise of this cozy mystery series is about a woman by the name of Cleo. And Cleo's... The one thing I liked about this is that most cozy mysteries that you get, your protagonist, your main character, tends to be in their 20s or 30s. Cleo's in her 70s, and she's the head librarian for this small town library in Georgia, and she drives the local bookmobile, so that's why it's a bookmobile mystery. And she has a gentleman friend named Henry, and she has a cat. You know, it's got all the hallmarks of something that I would really like, but the first 25% of this book, all the characters did with each other was bicker. And it really kind of drove me crazy. And I thought, okay, this is a little ridiculous. The mystery aspect of it wasn't too bad. I was really hoping for more. I was hoping to enjoy it more. And I can't put my finger 100% on what it was, but I just didn't love it. Cozy mysteries usually make me happy. And, you know, they're kind of, even though there's murders taking place, they are still a joy to read a lot of the time. But in this case, I just didn't love it. It didn't make me happy. Will I go back and read the first book? Maybe. We'll see. I'm not going to rush out to do so. Let's put it that way. So if you're a cozy mystery fan, see if your library has this first, you know, and try it from your library. Maybe start with the first book and, you know, try it from the library. And, you know, if you enjoy it, then go ahead and pick up the second book. But it's not a book I would encourage you to rush out and purchase. Let's put it that way. And the last book that I finished this week was a print book, you guys. I'm getting more into my print books again. And this, oops, totally made the font too small here on my tablet. Bear with. A Distant Hurt by Sonali Dev. This is a contemporary romance novel. It is book number 4 in the Bollywood series. I'm going to touch on that because I'm a little disappointed about that, and that's why it got a slightly lower star rating considering it's a Sonali Dev. Published originally in 2017. Average rating of 3.56 stars on Goodreads. I gave it 4 stars, but it is actually, let's put it this way, it's on the higher end of 3.5. So if I was like my friend Karen from Rather Be Reading, this would have been like a 3.75 book. But I don't like breaking my ratings down that much. I do compile a list every month where I rate all my books. I put them in order of, even though I had 4 5-star books, or 5 4-star books, for example, which 4-star book did I like just a little bit more? Do you know what I mean? So I do kind of put them on a grading scale like that for my own personal, but I'm not going to do that, you know, here. It's just going to get a little, so this is lower on the 4-star ratings. Reason is this story was amazing. I absolutely loved it. The problem I had with it, as I mentioned, this is book number 4 in the Bollywood series. So the first 2 books in this series, book 1 and book 2, which were called The Bollywood Bride and then The Bollywood Affair, I read those out of order. So the first book that I ever read by her was book number 2 in the Bollywood series. And then I went back and read book number 1. Neither book had anything to do with each other. They just so happened to have these Bollywood type events take place. You know, that's what tied them together. So when I saw this one at the library last week, and I really wanted to read it, this has been on my want to read list for a while, ever since it came out, I think, that I thought, okay, so book 1 and book 2 had nothing to do with each other, like that. If anything, and I don't remember because I read them a number of years ago, you may have seen a character at a party that was in one of the other books. Do you know what I mean? I thought, okay, I can totally go into this one without reading book number 3, because I have not read book number 3, which is called A Change of Heart. I should have known. Unfortunately, I should have read A Change of Heart first. So if you guys are going to be reading these 2 books, note, A Bollywood Bride and A Bollywood Affair, You can absolutely read on their own, stand alone, read them, enjoy them, love them. A Change of Heart and this book are drastically different than those two books. So I'm a little bit disappointed that they're being labeled as the same series. And I don't know if that's something that Sonali Dev did or what have you. I don't really know. Like it says here in the front, it just says books by Sonali Dev and it just lists them. It doesn't say that they're part of a series. So I don't know where that whole series part came in. But regardless, I really think that you should read A Change of Heart first, because as I was halfway through this book, I actually started to get a little bit confused. And I'm like, wait, I feel like they're talking about something that I should know about. I mean, it was explained, but I went to Goodreads and I read the back cover of A Change of Heart and went, oh, look, it's those characters that they're meeting up with in this book. This whole thing that takes place in that other book. I think it will enhance this story so much more if you read that one first. So that's just my public service announcement, if you will. Now, this book was fabulous. Even without reading A Change of Heart first, this book was still fantastic. So I was a little bit apprehensive about it though. It took me about halfway through the book to really get into it and go, yes, I am really starting to enjoy this now, because of the way the story is told. So the premise of this book is about a girl by the name of Kimmy. And when Kimmy, now again, I don't want to give too much about this book away because I went into this one, I knew this was about a woman or a girl who had gotten a heart transplant, and there was something to do with the heart transplant and black market organ, or like a black market organ kind of an idea. That's all I knew. So essentially, that's what I'm going to tell you guys. But she has an autoimmune disease where her body can't fight off infection, and she spends her entire childhood living within a single room. And she befriends this young boy. I'm not going to get into his backstory because, again, you need to read the book. And they become friends, and they essentially grow up together. And, you know, she spends a lot of time in hospital and then eventually has to get a heart transplant where this whole black market organ harvesting thing comes into effect. So this book is told going back and forth in time. Now, it doesn't give you specific dates. Like, it doesn't say, like, you know, like, for example, you know, I don't know if you're going to be able to read that, but here at the top of each chapter, it'll say Raoul, which is whoever's perspective you're getting. It's either Raoul or Kimmy, which are our two main protagonists, or Kimmy's father, Kirti. And it says a long time ago. And then, you know, if you get to another chapter, it'll say, like, for example, it says Kimmy, present day. So you're not getting specific dates, but you're going back and forth in time. And this book, I was thinking about it last night as I was getting, like, I finished this today, but I was almost done it last night. And I was thinking about it when I was, you know, when I kind of put it down, I was getting ready to go to bed, that it reminds me in a way, and don't laugh at this analogy, but this is what it reminded me of, was, you know, those Russian nesting dolls where, you know, you open up one and then there's something else inside. As you go through this story, because you are not told everything, you know, like with Kimmy's sickness, you don't find everything out right at the beginning. Like this happened and this happened and this happened. It slowly starts to be told to you as you are reading the book, as you are going back and forth in time. The present day part of the story takes place over the course of 3 days, but the backstory part of it, the from a long time ago part of it, takes place over like 15 years. So, and that's what it reminded me of. Is like every time you get to a new chapter, you're slowly getting another piece of this puzzle, and you know, and you're starting to slowly find out what happened to her and what happened to him, like Raoul. And, you know, how this all ties in together and it was so well written. Oh my gosh, it was so well written. Please, if you have not read Sonali Dev yet, do yourself a favor. So, A Bollywood Affair and A Bollywood Bride were much more contemporary type romance. I mean, they are Indian American characters, but they are so much an atypical kind of almost like a romantic comedy, both of them, and I love them. This was very much a departure from that, whereas this book was so much more serious, but it was just as good, just as well written. You know, she is a fabulous author. This one, the first two books in the series take place in America because, as I just said, the characters are Indian American. This story, and I can't talk on A Change of Heart because I haven't read it yet, but now I'm going to have to do that. A Distant Heart takes place solely in India, in Mumbai. So, yeah, if you're doing a challenge this year where you're trying to read from books that take place in different countries, here you go. But yeah, so good. There is a bit of adult content in here. It's not very much, and it's very well done. It's more behind closed doors kind of an idea. But yeah, I highly recommend this one, and I've been hanging on to it, even though I finished it earlier this morning. So I was out today. I was going to drop it off at the library, but I'm like, I will save it for doing the video tonight so I can actually hold up a physical book and show you guys. And then I will take it back to the library tomorrow. But yes, I highly recommend this one, and I highly recommend the author. So, what am I currently reading? Good question, you guys. So the first book I am listening to on audio is The Unsung Hero by Suzanne Brockmann. This is the first book in the Troubleshooter series. This is a much older book because you can just tell. I think they do actually mention dates, and like 1990 is like, so I think this book was probably written almost 20 years ago. But hello to that cover. It's obviously a redone cover of sorts. This is about a guy who is on a 30-day leave from he's a Navy SEAL. And the Troubleshooters is the nickname for his SEAL team that he belongs on. And there are a ton of books in this series. I'm reading this one for the Romanceopoly Challenge for the military square. And so he's home, and he's staying with his great uncle, and he meets up with a local, like a woman who lives in town, but they kind of had a thing for each other when they were in high school. So it's kind of a second chance romance, but now there is this kind of mystery element with this guy called the Merchant, who is a international terrorist that he's been tracking, and all of a sudden this guy shows up in small town New England, and like, why is he here? Is he really here? Am I just seeing things? So far it's really good, and I'm really enjoying it. The next book that I am currently reading, my next print book, I am reading Only Mine by Suzanne Mallory. This is book number 4 in the Fool's Gold series. So in this book, this is about one of the triplets. If you have read the Fool's Gold series or just starting it, there are a set of triplets, Dakota, Nevada, and Montana are the triplets. And so each of the next 3 books are going to feature each one of the sisters. So this is Dakota's story. And The Town of Fool's Gold, this is a great contemporary romance series, by the way. The Town of Fool's Gold has a man shortage, that there are not a lot of men who live in town. So this girl for this university ends up doing a thesis on this phenomenon. And it gets picked up by some local and then major newspapers. And now a Hollywood reality show is being filmed there. So the book starts off that Dakota is kind of helping out the town by working with the director for this like reality show begrudgingly. She really doesn't want to be doing it. And then Finn is our male lead. And his 2 brothers, who were on their final year of university or college, decided to drop out to try their hand at being on this show. So he shows up from Alaska to California and is like, I need you to get my brothers out of the show. And Dakota's like, nope, not happening. So I'm only about 50 pages into it. I just started it today, so I am really enjoying it so far. And yeah, I will give you guys my final thoughts on this one next week. The next one I am reading, you guys know I have a bunch of books on the go every time. Garrett's just feeding Bernard, if you can hear that. He's opening up the wet food container. Is Her Texas Ex by Kathleen Garbera. This is a NetGalley read, and this book is relatively short. It's about 150 pages long. It's another kind of second chance romance about, I'm not even a chapter into this yet, about 2 people who dated when they were in high school. She's come back to town because her mother is sick, and the story's going to go from there. I'll talk about this one more next week. And the last book that, I'll talk about this one afterward. My Babysitters Club book, because I am reading my next Babysitters Club book, my hold came in from the library, is The Babysitter's Winter Vacation by Ann M. Martin. This is the 3rd super special. This one is not one of my favorite super specials, but this one has my very favorite cover of the entire run of the series. I don't know why I love this cover so much, but way back in the early 90s, for those of you who might be a certain age as myself, you might remember that the Babysitters Club actually released calendars in the early 90s. And one of the ones that I had for one of the winter months had this image. And I actually had it on my wall for years, as a picture on my wall. It is, I don't know what it is about that cover, but I just absolutely love it. So anyway, the premise of this story is the babysitters all end up at a winter lodge with a class trip, and shenanigans ensue. So I'm a little over halfway done it. I will definitely have it done by next week. And last but not least, my 40 Years of Harlequin Project book that I'm reading my way through is Vegas Vows by Linda Randall Wisdom. And this is a Harlequin American romance novel. I'm about that far through it. I generally get most of these read over the weekend. I've mentioned that before. So this is a story about a man who, it takes place in Vegas, and he owns a wedding business that will create your dream wedding, essentially. Like, if you can imagine it, they will do it. And she, our main character, or Robin, is very much against weddings. She has an ex-husband, and she thinks marriage and weddings are just a bad idea. And of course, a relationship is going to develop between her and him, and he's going to kind of try and convince her that marriage is maybe a good idea. So far, I'm really enjoying it. The writing on this one is great. I've read this author numerous times before, and I really like her work. And yeah, I'm enjoying this one a great deal. So, all that being done, let's jump into my book haul for this week. So before I get into my book haul, let's open my next 40 Years of Harlequin book, which is 1995. Because the one I'm currently reading is 94. Yes, it's 94. I just want to double check. We're opening 1995. So let's see what we're going to be reading later this week. Or in the coming week. Or whatever. I'm tired. It might be earlier in the afternoon, but I am a little bit tired. So what do we got here? Ooh, Maggie Shane. A Maggie Shane book. Fun. I remember finding this one and picking it up. So this is Out of This World Marriage, of course, by Maggie Shane. This is a Silhouette Intimate Moments, which is now the Harlequin romantic suspense line. So these are, these are now a little bit more suspenseful, but I think back then they were more of like a contemporary romance type idea. So let's see what this one is about. Oh my gosh, UFO crash lands, local doctor weds alien. This is going to be interesting, you guys. How on earth had Thomas Duffy's life become stranger than a tabloid headline? One moment he was a grumpy but respectable country doctor. The next he was starry-eyed over an exotic beauty who dropped out of the sky and into his wheat field. If Thomas didn't protect Janella, whose sinister government snoops might harm her. Oh, no, those sinister government snoops might harm her. I should really wear my glasses when I'm doing this. So he did what any chivalrous gentleman would do. I can't talk. He married her. Thomas never imagined that she had been waiting for him long before they met, or that his new wife expected the works: wedding night, honeymoon, and love. So it's an alien romance. That's interesting. I'm totally intrigued. I remember, like, all these books are not a surprise. Like, they're a surprise because I don't remember what with what year. But some of them I remember a bit more than others. And I remember looking at this one and going, okay, it's Maggie Shane. I really like Maggie Shane as an author. She does a lot of paranormal romance, usually involving vampires and witches and things like that. But UFO, this one should be interesting. 95, right around the time of the X-Files. So yeah, I can totally see that being a thing in the 90s. I was an X-Files fanatic. So let's see what this one's all about, shall we? So I will let you guys know more about that next week, obviously. So into the book haul. So I was good this week, a little bit. I did not buy any ebooks this week. As I mentioned last week, I am trying to start building up my physical book library. One of the things I did this week is I redid my shelves. If you'll notice, I have like this Golden Girls book, like front and center, but I cleaned out these shelves, and I have 4 bags of books that I am donating to the Value Village. I'm just going to drop them off, and you don't get credit for them like you would at a used bookstore, but you get like a voucher for 30% off your next purchase at Value Village. So because I do tend to shop for books there, that's a better deal for me. So that's what one of my game plans is actually on Saturday, is to drop off a couple of those bags and then some more next week. But anyway, so I'm trying not to go gung-ho and buying like tons of physical books because we still have not cleaned up this area yet. I have to do it. I have to clean up my my kind of knitting corner over here and get it all put away. So then I can go and get, because I haven't even bought the bookshelves yet. We have 1 bookshelf, but we're going to get 2 new ones that are going to sit over here, which I'm then eventually going to be filming in front of, instead of in front of this one. This one's going to stay where it is, but there'll be 2 more on the other side of this, like little, like we have like a little alcove kind of an idea, with a window here. So, you know, but anyway, I will show you guys all that in a vlog or something like that when we get to doing that. But yeah, I'm trying not to go crazy, but I did get 6 ebooks this week. Even though I didn't buy any, I was approved for 3 on NetGalley that I had asked for. And then the publishers contacted me about 3 other ones and asked me if I'd be interested in reading them. And I'm like, yes, please. So I've got a lot more, NetGalley ebooks here. So I'm just going to, I don't know a lot about all these, but I'm going to just share them with you guys and of course put the pictures up here so you can see them. So the first one is Last Pen Standing by Vivian Conroy. This is a cozy mystery series. It does not come out till the end of September. It says it's the first in a series, but it does not list what the series is called. So I'm really not too sure, but it really looked cute. Nice, bright, cheerful cover. I do love a good cozy mystery, so I thought I would give this one a try. The next one is Christmas in Vermont by Anita Hughes. This is labeled as a general fiction novel, and it comes out at the mid-October. So this one is a bit of a ways off. I will be reading it closer to the publication date. But yeah, it's a Christmas story set in Vermont. I mean, you can't go wrong with that. So it sounded good. The next one so these are all the ones that I had asked for and was approved for. And the last one is The Woman in the White Kimono by Anna Johns. This is a historical fiction novel, obviously taking place in Japan. It comes out at the end of May. So I'll be reading this one, I think, next month. So I will definitely let you guys know my thoughts on that one. But yeah, this one looked really good, and I had requested it a while ago, and they just this week got back to me and approved my request. So that's exciting. So then the other 3 books were the ones that the publisher contacted me about, or the publishers. So the first one is The Perfect Date by Evelyn Lozada, I think, and Holly Lorincz. I'm sorry if I'm saying that incorrectly. This is a contemporary romance. It comes out June 11th. And this is essentially the story about a couple who, he is a starting pitcher for the New York Yankees. Like, really? You couldn't have made up a baseball team? You had to go with the Yankees? As a die-hard Boston Red Sox fan, I'm gonna have to put aside the fact that he pitches for the Yankees in order to somewhat appreciate our male lead in this novel. No, I won't let that bias come into play when I'm reading this, but it's just, I'm like, really, the Yankees? You couldn't have made up a baseball team, but no. But anyway, yeah, so this one looks cute. It's a baseball romance, and I do love a baseball romance. So, this one should be fun, Yankees pitcher notwithstanding. The next one, I was so thrilled when the publisher contacted me about this one. Jackson by Emily March. This is a contemporary romance novel. It is the first book in the McBrides of Texas series. This is a new series by her. I read another book by her in December, I think. It was another NetGalley book. This one comes out June 25th. So it looks like it's going to be a cowboy western romance. Emily March is a great author. From what I remember, she writes clean stories, so no adult content. So this one should be a lot of fun. And the last one is Crashing the A-List by Summer Heacock. And this is another contemporary romance. Comes out the 2nd of July. And it looks like, essentially as it sounds, it looks like someone's trying to kind of break into Hollywood maybe. So it looks cute. I'm not 100% a fan of the cover, but yeah, it looks like it'll be a lot of fun. And yeah, I'm looking forward to reading it. So those are all the ebooks that I got. So let me put my tablet to the side and I will grab my physical books that I picked up this week. So as I do every week, I went to bingo last weekend, and my mom and I went Saturday at lunchtime, and then we ended up winning a little bit of money. So that was nice. So when the husband and I went to Walmart to go do our grocery shopping, the reason we like to go to Walmart, we always go to Walmart to grocery shop, is because A, it's close to us, and B, there's always, if we need anything else, it's always there. I mean, there's been times where, oh, we need a new shower curtain, or, we should really grab a couple more towels because our old ones are looking ratty, and you can kind of grab everything without having to go to all these different places. And our Walmart has a huge grocery area. But of course, they also have a huge book section, and I always have to go look at the books. So I decided to treat myself, and I picked up 4 new books. So the trade paperback books, these ones, were 40% off each, and that's why I picked them up. I was mentioning this to Garrett earlier this week because there's a whole bunch of books that I want to put on pre-order with Amazon, but I'm almost tempted now just to kind of maybe make a little list and keep it in my purse with the release dates, and then when they come out, if we go to Walmart every Saturday, is to look for them, because Amazon might have them for 10 or 20% off, but if I can get it for 40% off at Walmart, like that's a great deal. You know what I mean? So the first one that I grabbed, I couldn't say no. One Summer in Paris by Sarah Morgan. I am so excited about this one. I think for some reason I forgot about it for my anticipated reads for the month that it came out, like last month. But I am so looking forward to this. Cover is just gorgeous. It's got the gorgeous deckled edges to it and the French flaps. And yeah, I mean, I loved The Christmas Sisters, which was another book, which was the book by her that came out late last year. And it's more of this is more of a women's fiction than it is a contemporary romance. And it's about a woman who's divorced and decides to spend the summer in Paris. And she meets up with another woman who's spending the summer in Paris. And it's kind of their friendship and stuff like that. So it sounds really, really good. And I mean, this is gorgeous. So I am so looking forward to it. It's going to be so good. The other one, another favorite author, of course, California Girls by Suzanne Mallory. I couldn't resist picking this one up. This one did not have the 40% off sticker on it, but it was 40% off when I got to the cash register. Thank you very much. And this is another story. This is about three sisters. It's another more women's fiction than contemporary romance about three sisters who are all dealing with, are dealing with different things going on in their lives and how they kind of help each other and stuff. And yeah, so good. I mean, Suzanne Mallory. You can't go wrong with Suzanne Mallory. And then the other two books I got were mass market paperbacks. I don't mind a mass market paperback. What I can't handle as much are mass market paperbacks that have been read a bunch of times. And like, when I go to the used bookstore, I'm not a book snob where it has to be in mint condition, but it has to not be falling apart. So that's when, mass market. So if I own it, I'm pretty much only going to read it one time and then it'll go on my shelf. So yes, the spine might get bent or something like that, but it'll still stay in relatively good condition. So the first one that I got was Sarah MacLean's Wicked and the Wallflower. This is the first book in the Bare Knuckle Bastard series, and I'm so looking forward to this one. I love a good Regency romance, and I love Sarah MacLean. She is so good. She is one of my favorites. Look at the step back, you guys, without the glare. Hello. Loving the color of her dress. Isn't that pretty? So yeah, so this one I am so looking forward to reading. It's going to be so good. I have a feeling this book at least, this one and maybe either the Suzanne Mallory or the Sarah Morgan will be making it onto my May TBR. So we shall see. But I'm looking forward to this one a great deal. And then the other one I got, because I've seen this all over Bookstagram, at least the Bookstagrammers that I follow, is Devil's Daughter by Lisa Kleypas. I know this is the 5th in a series. I do need to go and get the first few in the series, but yeah, and the mass market paperbacks at Walmart are 2 for $15. So you're saving a bit of money because this one retailed for $10.99 and the other one retailed for $9.99. So you're saving a little bit of money. So that's okay. I mean, if you're going to buy one, you might as well buy two, right? But yeah, I just think that cover is just so gorgeous. And look at the side. Look at the side spine. Isn't that beautiful? So you have to look for the other ones at the thrift store maybe, or try and find them online. Look at the interior. Oh, look at her dress. I love her red hair. Absolutely love it. That is a stunning cover. So yeah, so I got that one. And then the last one that I got, this one was free. If you guys watched my last week's video, you saw I got that stack of 9 books that were the must-love dog, like anthologies from Harlequin. So I went online and I looked, and I was missing 3 of them that have already been published. So out of all the ones that I got, 3 that had already been published I didn't have. So I went on Harlequin and I ordered 2 of them, and I used my points. I used my Harlequin points, and I got them for free. So one of them has come in. The next one should come in this week. And I do plan on ordering the 3rd one that I'm missing this week as well. So this is a Christmas one, and it's His Christmas Baby. And this is an anthology. It is the Must Love Dogs anthology, if you didn't see last week's video. And these are essentially just a bind-up of 2 of their novels. When I do read these, I will count each novel separately. As I won't necessarily be having it on my shelf as the bind-up, but I'll be counting them as separate books. But they're full-length novels. They're just put into one volume, and all the stories involve dogs. So this is by Laura Marie Altum and Marin Thomas, and the 2 books are previously published as The Cowboy Seal's Jingle Bell Baby and The Surgeon's Christmas Baby. So they sound really cute. Really cute cover too. I really like that. So yeah, so that was a freebie, so that was kind of nice. So that is all my book haul. Very exciting. So let's jump into quickly. I'll show you guys my crafting and talk about some real life stuff, and then I'll let you guys go. So crafting wise, let's show you some socks. Oh, okay, I'll show you these first, and then I'll mention this. So these are my running through socks by the design. The pattern was designed by my best friend Brandy Miller. Link to the pattern in the description box below. I highly encourage you to go ahead and pick it up. It is a great sock pattern. So here we go. So there's where I was last Saturday, or last week when I showed you last Friday. And that's what I've gotten done. Not a whole heck of a lot, but I did put the heel in. I think that was new. I hadn't done that. So that does take a little bit of time. But I should get these ones done by Monday or Tuesday of this week. So I will have another pair of finished socks. The yarn is from, I'm drawing a complete blank, Dreams and Fiber, and the colorway is called Halloween Town. And as you can see, it sparkles so pretty. I'm really looking forward to having these done so I can wear them. And because I will have them done before I talk to you guys next, if you're new to my channel, I have a large, huge, kind of shopping bag. That's Alice in Wonderland that a friend got me. And I have bags of yarn, excuse me for reaching, bags of yarn put into brown bags. And when I finish a pair of socks, I pull out another brown bag. I do have them numbered. So I did this before I shot the video, as I picked a number and I pulled it out of the bag. And I will be opening this as soon as I'm done showing you guys my crafting, so you guys can see the next pair of socks that I will be knitting. So that's exciting. It's kind of like having one of those, you know, you get books in the mail, a mystery box or something like that, but it's like mystery yarn, because I cannot remember what I put in these bags. So this is super exciting. So let me put my socks away. The only other bit of knitting, actual knitting, that I got done this week was on one of my sweaters of the 3 sweaters I'm knitting. This is Uncomplicated by Alicia Plummer. And I got a fair amount done on this one. I'm actually quite pleased with my progress on it. So there's where I was the last time I showed you guys, and I got all this done. Now it doesn't look like a lot, but again, this is very thin yarn, and I have over 200 stitches on the needle. So it's 200 stitches every round. And I think I'm at about 5 inches for the body, and I have to go to 18. So this is a longer sweater, which I love. I love a sweater that covers your behind. And it's, if you could, all the bumpies you might be wondering, this is actually, oh my gosh, what do you call it? Oh, I'm drawing such a blank today. I don't know why. This is tweed yarn. So there are little tweedy bits in here. And I love it because the colorway kind of reminds me of a strawberry. It's from Knit Picks. The yarn is from Knit Picks. It is their Stroll Tweed yarn, their sock yarn. It is so soft. Oh my gosh. It doesn't look like it would be, but it is so soft. Oh my gosh, next to the skin soft. And I just love it. It looks like I said, like a strawberry. The colorway is called Garnet. So as you can see, the sleeves are obviously on hold. It's got a little bit of a V-neck kind of going on there, which will be really cute. But yeah, so now I'm just working down the body. But there are some increases and decreases that you do for waist shaping. So I'm you have to keep track of that too. But yeah, so I am really enjoying that. And I think it's going to be a great fall sweater whenever I eventually get it done. And then the last thing, of course, my cross stitch. Let me put that away. I finished a cross stitch piece this week, you guys, or last weekend, I should say. And that was the one for my husband, the World of Warcraft one. I showed you guys last week that I was almost done, but now I did finish it. I have it saved. I took it out of the frame because I started another piece. But I'm keeping them all kind of saved in here until I'm done all of them, and then Garrett and I are going to decide what to do with them. So home is where the hearth is. He's nodding at me. Okay, I got it right. So there it is. You know, it's folded and all that, but once I get them all done, I'm going to take them out and get them properly. I'm going to iron them to get all the wrinkles out and stuff like that. But I'm so pleased with how it turned out. I love the flowers. I absolutely just love this, because as you're doing the back stitching and it's just gorgeous. I just think it looks so amazing, and I'm so happy with it. Garrett really likes it too, so that's the main thing. But yes, I'm looking forward to doing a few more of these. There are 5 of them in total, 5 different designs, and they're all World of Warcraft related. So yeah, they'll be kind of fun for him when I'm done to be able to hang up on his wall in his room, in his toy room with all of his Star Wars stuff. So the next pattern that I've started is another one by the Witchy Stitcher, And this is another one from the Sabbath series. I did Samhain, which is Halloween. And this one, which isn't very exciting to look at right now, I'm just starting the lettering. It is Imbolc, I think is how you say it. I read these things in books, but to actually say them out loud is a little bit of a different story. So this is the Candlemas. It's also known as, is it Candlemas? Yeah, because Ostara is, okay. So this happens, this holiday, this is one of the high holidays. It, there's not much to show you here, so just kind of, you know, whatever. It is celebrated on February 2nd, or February 1st, excuse me, the day before Groundhog's Day. But it is kind of like the start of spring, essentially. So yeah, so this one's gonna be really pretty. I don't have my tablet. It's buried underneath some things. Next time, if I'm not any further, if I haven't gotten more of the pattern done, I will show you guys the design itself. Actually, you know what I'll do is I'll pop up a picture of it right here so you can see what the final piece will look like. But yeah, I'm really looking forward to this one. I was trying to do them all in order. So the next one after Halloween would have been Yule or Christmas. Well, Yule, but around the Christmas season. But I had to skip that one because I want to do it on gray fabric, and I don't have gray fabric, and I would have had to have ordered it online, which is fine. But my friend Mandy, who I'm going to go see in 3 weeks when I go down to Boston and New Hampshire, yay, she was placing an order with the company that we order our fabric from, so she's like, I'll order it for you, and you can just pick it up while you're here. So that way I'm saving shipping, which is great. So I ordered the fabric for that one and for the one after this one. So I did jump ahead, but I will jump back to that one and then, you know, kind of go forward after that. So yeah, so I'm really, really loving this so far. I'm just loving her designs. They're just absolutely gorgeous. So yeah, so that's all for the crafting. Let me just quickly open up my next yarn, because this is exciting. I've been looking so forward to this because I knew that those socks were going to get done this week. And I'm like, I want to open my next yarn to show you guys. It's like package opening day today. I'm going to have to ball it up because it's not in a ball. Oh, yes, 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 yes. Evil Little Goat yarn. Can we talk about how awesome that designer's or that dyer's thing? This is her Bouncy Goat base. It is an 85% superwash merino, 15% nylon, 437 yards. What is the colorway name? Three Little Birds, which I think is a Bob Marley song reference, if I'm not mistaken. But look at the colors in that, you guys. Oh, I don't know what pattern I'm gonna have to do with this, or a pattern at all. I think it needs to be a pattern. I might need to do Blueberry Waffles, which is just like a knit and purl. It's a free pattern on Ravelry, but you guys will see next week, whatever it is that I decide. But oh my gosh, you guys, this is so soft. Oh, I'm almost debating on even doing socks with this now. Maybe I'll do a hat. Yeah, scarf. No, I think it's gonna have to be socks because I can never have too many pairs of socks. But yeah, so that is awesome. That's gonna be the next yarn. Yay! So anyway, really quickly before I let you guys go, everyday life stuff. Just throw my bags on the floor. So this week has just been a typical week at work. Nothing terribly interesting. As I mentioned at the beginning of this video, it's Good Friday, so I'm off today. So yay on that. I have 3 more weeks before I go to Boston and New Hampshire. I cannot wait. I am so, so, so excited about going away. I'm looking forward to seeing all my friends and, you know, seeing Steve, and going to Boston. I've been to Boston since '97, so, and when I went the last time I was on a class trip, so it really wasn't that exciting because you kind of had to do school type stuff. But next weekend, my very good friend Jessica is coming up, and she's coming up for the Toronto Knitters Frolic. So I don't plan on buying a lot there because I'm going to be shopping when I go to New Hampshire and Boston. But of course I'm going to go and we're going to walk around and look at the booths and stuff like that. She's spending the weekend here. Saves her a bit of money being able to crash out on my couch, which is great. So that's the exciting stuff. I will ask if you guys are still watching at this point. Do please keep your fingers crossed and keep my dad in your prayers this week because he has his surgery on Wednesday. If you're new or whatever and you don't know what's going on, the very quick explanation is that in the end of February, my dad was diagnosed with cancer, bladder and kidney, but it's stage 1, so it's highly treatable. And he's been having like chemo-like treatments for the past 6 weeks. And on Wednesday, on the 24th, he is having his kidney removed. So I am the driver. I'm picking him up in the morning and taking him to the hospital. And I'm going to be there all day. I'll be waiting, in the waiting room with my knitting and my book, and be perfectly content doing so. Him and Mom waited for me for all my surgeries, and as someone who's been through a number of surgeries myself, and I don't know if those of you who have the same, but just knowing that someone is in the waiting room waiting for you just always made me feel a little bit better. So, whether he tells me to go home or not, I'm not going to. I will be in the waiting room. My mom, unfortunately, can't be at the hospital because they babysit my niece and nephew. And when my dad gets out of the hospital, my mom's going to need to devote a lot of her time looking after Dad because, he's going to be, he'll still have like tubes and medical type stuff that they're gonna have to deal with until he's like more on the mend, essentially. So my mom's not gonna be able to chase after an 18-month-old like my nephew. So my brother is taking next week off, like the week after Dad's surgery, so not this coming week but the week after. He's taking that week off of work so he can be looking after his son, and then my mom can concentrate on Dad, kind of an idea. So because of that, my brother can't take this week off of work, so I did take the one day. Dad will be in the hospital for about 3 or 4 days, but I will definitely update you guys and let you know how things were going or how things went next Friday when I talk to you, or next Saturday or whenever the video goes up. Anyway, guys, that's it for this one. A little bit of a longer one. I always look at a time and go, oh, they're kind of, but you know what? I know you guys don't mind. They're still shorter than some of my vlogs were. But videos coming this week. So, of course, I am currently, this weekend is the Create Your Own Readathon. So I am vlogging this weekend, which reminds me I have to do another clip when I'm done this. And then, so that video will be coming up on Tuesday. And then on Thursday, I'm actually going to do a tag video. I wasn't too sure. I was originally I had my book haul scheduled, but I'm like, I've been showing you guys my books every week in these vlogs, or in these weekly reads. So I actually found this tag that Steph did a couple weeks ago, and it's the over 30 booktuber tag or something like that. So for booktubers who are over the age of 30, I'm like, kind of love this idea. So I'm doing that tag on Thursday, so stay tuned for that. And yeah, so anyway, guys, that's about it from me. I do hope you enjoyed this video. Please let me know in the comments below, have you read any of the books that I've talked about? Are you interested in any of them now? What about the books I hauled? Anything at all that you guys want to chat about, please do in the comments below. And I will see you guys all in my next video. Until then, take care and happy reading, everybody. Bye.